Hello, everybody. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, and today's the day. I've been wrestling with software, but I've got a new program I'm testing. So, what I wanted to do was create a summary of all the things we talked about in our Count on Me program from a couple weeks ago. And so I'm going to post this on YouTube and on my website, so I know there'll be people watching this that weren't there. But my primary intention is to review the key ideas that we talked about, and just to give you some refresher and help, inspire you and encourage you to keep working with this in your life. So the essential idea of Count on Me came from this quote initially. The first time I saw it, it was a Woody Allen quote. I've seen it from other places. And then Brene Brown also said something similar. And my first impression was, wow, that's a great idea. My second response to that was, because of the way my brain works and I have the ability to look at things from multiple perspectives, it's ironic to me that it means two things. One of them is showing up, but the second thing it means is everybody shows up. How do you show up? And so what I mean by that is I know some people that show up that are super critical, nothing's ever right, demanding, unhappy, pessimistic, complaining, bitching, so forth, etc. And then I know other people who show up are courteous, respectful, enthusiastic. They have a tendency to bond with and bring out the best in other people around them. So the question is not whether or not you're showing up, but how do you want to show up? And so the other part of that is the whole idea I shared with you when I would have conversations with my friend Steffi Allen. She continued to comment about people telling her they just did not have time to reflect. And if you don't reflect, then what you're counting on is something else to get your attention, so you have no choice but to reflect. And that something else is most generally in our society, crisis. So what we had a chance to do today, and what I build into my life and encourage you to build into your life, some space to unplug from the demands of your job, where you have some time and space to just go away, sit down, dedicate some time. It's the same guideline and the same principle required for creativity, and just take some space to be free of thinking, free of work, free of responsibility, and start cultivating that relationship with the other parts of yourself. So, Count on Me. One of the things that's crucial, you have a presence, and your presence is never neutral. It either enriches or diminishes the people around you. So, I popped this picture up there. That's from when I was in Gorontalo going to the Togian Islands. This has been many, many years ago. The only place in the village, in the city, where there was Wi-Fi was outside the government building. And so I was in there in the afternoon trying to post some pictures and write some stories when school got out. And this is just one of a group of students that came through that's like, hello, mister, can we take a picture? So, somehow our influence on each other was very positive. Now, in the sense of influence, I've always had this idea that, one of the things Tom Peters said at one point in his life was that if he had it to do over again, he would spend more time inviting leaders to get involved with self-reflection. And he said, I don't mean contemplating your navel, but contemplating how's your presence? How does your presence impact other people? What influence do you have on people? And I've worked with organizations that were better, more productive, more happy, lighter, more playful when the boss was gone. When they're there, there's an intensity and a fear and concern about making mistakes and not doing things right and satisfying the boss. So the boss's presence is contagious in a manner that is counterproductive. So you and I and everybody is contagious, and one of the ways we do that is through what's called the mirror neuron. So who you are, what you're focusing on, what you're thinking about, you create a mood, you create an expression, you create a muscle tension in your face, a look in your eyes. When you do that, so let's take this young girl. She's the daughter of some people I used to do my laundry with in Bali. The amount of energy that goes into creating a smile like that activates just a whole ton of neurons in the brain and cellular activity, and then it regulates and activates the muscular activity. A mirror neuron in other people seeing that, the moment they see that, they start resonating with it, and their brain will start activating the exact same neurons in their brain that would be activated if they were smiling. So by simply smiling, she's being contagious to other people, which, by the way, is one of the concepts and principles that people in Bali live with, that I'm not smiling to you because you're nice or kind or you deserve it. I'm smiling at you because it's a part of our culture, and I feel like when I'm smiling at you, I'm giving you a gift. Okay, so we have a focus. What we pay attention to creates our presence and influences our presence. So we spent some time, talking about the circle of concern. And I found this model. I did do some more digging, and you'll see the reference there at the bottom for the source that it came from. But the left side is basically a very small inner circle, which represents people being reactive and reacting to the circumstances, and the outside that they have no control over. That's what I also call the victim. It's a victim of circumstance. I can't help myself because X, Y, or Z happens. It's also very conditional living. The right side is the less conditional living, and it's more like, okay, what are my choices? Where do I put my time and energy and focus? What can I pay attention to that I have the ability to influence? I had a friend that used to call me years ago, and she was deeply concerned over the news and the media and the politics, but she would not turn off her TV because she liked the drama or for some reason. So the proactive people have a tendency to focus and discipline their focus on things that are meaningful, enriching, nourishing, positive, promising. And, there's some evidence in different circles to suggest that it also has a positive impact on your immune system, on your biology. Okay, so this statistic came out from a program I got to see and be a part of called The Blue Planet. And it was a dialogue about the cultures around the world that people have a much longer longevity. And in that book, in that process, they came out with the statistic, 84% of all U.S. medical costs are explained by physical inactivity, food choices, portion sizes, tobacco, or unmanaged stress. And all of those are in the outside circle. So again, medical cost being directly impacted by people's choices and whether or not you're making choices that are good for you. And that's a possibility that's within your choice. So the emotional contagion, this is a woman I met on the street in Guanajuato, Mexico. And just look at that beautiful face, that big beaming smile, selling little garnachas on the side of the street. And I would be eating anything she made because of the energy that goes into that. So again, the question is, your presence is going to have an impact. How would you like for your impact to be? What would you like for it to be? So we moved from that into talking about Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. Now, for those of you that are interested in this, I've been working with it for 10 years or more than 10 years. And there was, and I think there still is, a seminar available online through either Start With Why or through Simon Sinek's website. So I'll put those two out there for you to think about if you want more help and guidance. But essentially, the idea is that very few people know why they do what they do. They think they know, but they hardly have a clue. And so we know what we do, and we know somewhat about how we go about doing what we do, but what we don't know is why we do what we do. And so the why is a deeper purpose, it's a calling, it's an inspiration, it's a belief system that when you're lined up with that, you feel like at this moment in time, you're exactly where the universe meant for you to be, and you're doing things that you love to do, that you would do for free, and you feel energized and you completely lose track of time. And then when you live in that world and you operate from your why, you have a much better resonance with knowing what fits you and what doesn't fit you. So for me, when I got clear on my why, it's totally changed how I look at videos purporting advice for travel. Because within a few minutes, and depending upon the title, I can tell people that are marketing their video and not really focusing on giving useful, helpful information. So when somebody says, everything you need to know from my 3 days in Bukit Lawang in Sumatra, and that includes the 5 hours of driving to get there and the 5 hours of driving to get back to get on the airport and leave, I'm pretty much convinced right off the bat that you don't know very much about it, but you've got a title to try to draw attention to your site. So the Golden Circle is about discovering the deeper inner drive that makes your life meaningful and purposeful and worth living. So we talked about the experiment with the Chinese idioms and the ideograms, and there were two parts to the process. The first part, they brought people in, showed them the Chinese ideograms. They left. They came back a week or so later, and they said, "Okay, we're going to show you these ideograms. Some you've seen before, some you haven't. Please tell us if you see some that you've seen before." And the results of that experiment was what they described as hopeless. They were no more accurate than a random person brought in off the street and just by random choice being able to select idioms. Now, the second group looked at the idioms, showed the ideograms to them. Second group left. They come back a week later and they said, "We're going to show you some ideograms. Some of them you've seen before, some of them are new. Please tell us which ones you like." And the results of that instruction was that they were extraordinarily accurate. The difference being, analytical hemisphere is the left hemisphere of the brain. Data, step by step, sequence, needing certainty, having to be right, analyzing right, wrong, good, bad. The right hemisphere is not has no verbal capacity. It operates from feeling, and it operates from a holistic, seeing patterns and subtleties and relationships and feelings, and it percolates in the background. There's some people, some neuroscientists suggest that that part of the brain has a memory of everything you've experienced in your entire life. And that's the part of your brain that when you're wrestling with a problem, left hemisphere, thinking, analyze, you can't come up with an idea, so you just forget about it, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, and all of a sudden a solution pops in. So that is the most common reason I see why people have a trouble identifying what their why is. We live in a world that's from the outside in. What do you do? What do you do? How long have you been doing it? We don't live in a world from the inside out. And the inside out, finding out what your why is, requires the capacity to feel. So when I travel, this is where I live from, and I do the best I can in my life on a regular basis. And what I mean by that is, so I'm getting ready to take a trip to Central America, and I have an idea of the kind of things I want to do. And when I get on the ground, there's going to be new options that I've never thought of. I'm going to meet people. I might want to go back to the Cascades Calientes and so forth. I don't make a decision to do something unless it comes with the feeling of lightness and ease. And I've done this enough, I know where that feeling is, and I know what it feels like, and I know if it doesn't feel right, something else will show up. Well, that's the source of finding your why. It's a feeling. And the feeling comes up, and there's just a level of certainty and clarity that comes in. I think people do this in a minor capacity when you go out to eat, and everything on the menu looks good, but at some point you just stop and go, what do I feel like? And to me, that's a really close analogy to what happens here. Okay, so parallel to this was the whole idea of essentialism from Greg McKeown, and he studied success in Silicon Valley, and he found out that people who had entrepreneurs who had initial success in business were less successful the second time. And what he discovered was the first time they started a business, they had like 3 or 4 things that they knew, these are the things we have to do well. When they were successful, the next business had 9 or 10 things. And they were distracted. They were focusing on too many different things. And so that's related to the comment that Jim Collins made that if you're not disciplined in the pursuit of the essential, which comes from knowing your why and your purpose, you'll be undisciplined in the pursuit of more. The antidote is being disciplined in the pursuit of less and better. All right, so here's America, the country of more. Going to buy more, get more, achieve more, get bigger, get broader. We have 35 to 40% of 2-car garages can't hold a car. And we have constant demands on us every day to do what other people want us to do. So every day the world's going to be demanding, this is important, this is important, this is important. If you're not clear in your inner world about what matters to you and what your priorities are, you can get drugged and pulled and tugged in every which way, which results in a lot of stress. So what matters to you? And essentially, that's a part of what this program is. Take some time out, Stay congruent with your values and your beliefs. Live a life that matters to you, that inspires you, and you invest your energy in the things that really matter to you, and that's your choice. The more proactive you are in paying attention to your focus and what you do, the more richness you can bring into your life. So, last thing is, again, the reminder, as a leader, your most powerful tool is your example. And your example comes to me from your focus. All right, so the last quote, saw this years ago, and it's come up for me when I was caregiving for my mother and father. Everyone dies, not everyone will live. So whatever that means to you is we have today, I saw a woman last year that had been in a program, and she had cancer, and it had been gone for 8 years, and it had come back. And she was telling me this with a smile on her face. And she goes, it's back, and so my husband and I they're going to take a trip. They're going to go back someplace where they renew their wedding vows. And she said the moment we got the diagnosis for cancer, we decided to live every single day fully. And they figured out what they meant to them. So at this point, she's living. So there's cancer there. Okay, well, it may do something, it may not, but in the meantime, we're going to live. And what scientists and researchers say is that those patients who deny and defy the diagnosis are the most difficult patients to deal with, but they also have the strongest recovery rate of patients. So that's it. Summary for you. I hope this has been meaningful, useful, and helpful. I wish you all the best. So take care of yourself and make yours a great life. Ciao.